Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. I'm going to give you guys a smile because what we're about to tackle today is a rather heavy subject. So just remember my smile as we journey through this really horrific and disgusting story. Now, I know that I do cover some rather heavy stuff on this show, and well, that's the reality of the world, unfortunately, at the moment. And there's nothing really I can do to stop it aside from, well, the fact is, even if I was to stop reporting on it, it doesn't stop it from actually happening. So if I was to report on it, yes, I know that I'm spreading the information far and wide, but I'm also giving my take on the matter, which I believe is just as important. Otherwise, you have these woke, nonsensical reporters that are just spinning stories and they're spinning the truth. And I don't like that. So this story is from Canada, and I will say who actually did the reporting because it's great reporting. Redux. And you can look at the full article in the show description below. Genevieve Gluck is the one that wrote this article. Now, this story is from Canada. Like I've kept saying, it's either Canada, UK, or somewhere in the backwoods place of California. Canada, transgender pedophile. Oh dear, we're using that word. Yes, we are, because we're allowed to use it. It's a very, very useful word to describe very horrific and evil, twisted men. And even some women too, I'll have you know. Arrested for child pornography, advocated for childhood transitioning. Allow this headline to sink in for just a moment. That's what we're going to be covering today. This is the individual. I mean, look at him. This is the face of pure, disgusting evil. A trans-identified male and a recidivist pedophile residing in Quebec has been arrested and charged with possession of child pornography for the second time. So they let him out the first time. It wasn't good enough to actually put the man in prison first time around for the first time possessing child pornography. No, we can't do that. We're going to let you out. Well, now he's been arrested for a second time. They just don't learn, do they? They don't learn that if you're caught once, what's the chances of you getting caught again if you get let free the first time? Usually it's quite high. Christelle Luzon, 39, of Val David, was detained on January 11th after officers from the Provincial Police Force's Internet Sexual Exploitation of Children investigation team conducted a search of the residence, and his computer was seized for forensic analysis. While details on the case are limited, it is known that this is not Luzon's first run-in with the police for child sexual exploitation material. Gee, you don't say. In 2020, Luzon was arrested for the possession of child abuse materials, but due to COVID-19, there was a cessation in proceedings until 2022. So we'll just blame COVID for the lack of police work and lack of real, finding this person responsible and guilty and putting them in a prison cell. He was then sentenced to 4 years in prison after pleading guilty to charges of production, distribution, and possession of child pornography. But Luzon appears to have been released sometime before November of 2023 with conditions he quickly was found to have violated. They just don't learn. Why release someone like this who has not just had the distribution or the possession of child pornography, but also the production of it? Good grief. In the reporting of his most recent arrest, Luzon was referred to as a woman by most French language news outlets, including, I'm not going to read that. Redux has discovered several social media profiles belonging to Luzon that contain disturbing content. Posts shared to Luzon's Facebook page, where he describes himself as a trans woman undergoing hormone therapy, indicate that he had an obsession with a genre of pornography known as sissification or sissy porn, which depicts men or boys being transitioned into young women or underage girls. This guy is sick. Yuck. In one of the more common forms of the pornography genre, referred to as sissy captions, images typically depicting women in fetish gear or alternating ah, childish lace dresses are accompanied by written text suggesting that the women are biologically male. The images are seemingly designed to be. This is really hard to read. It's I honestly cannot believe that the Canadian police would allow someone like this back out there on the streets. But they did. And now he continued to do the unthinkable. And well, it's the police fault. You do realize an addiction to sissy porn ends with you living as a woman, right? Reads one sissy caption shared by Luzin in 2020. Luzin captioned, "The image already had it in me, but yeah, this is really what happened." Luzin also frequently shared images to his Facebook account depicting young women and what appeared to be teenage girls in sexual poses. I mean, Facebook allowed this stuff to circulate, didn't it? He also made several posts about medically feminizing young boys. In 2021, Luzin supportively shared a message from Amy Fournier, a trans activist who began medically interventions at the age of just 16. I want to say that a transition does not change your child's mind in any way. It is only the physical that changes. He remains the same person. And I think that the only thing that should matter to a parent is seeing their child happy. Fournier wrote, continuing, "I have a penis and I am a girl." Well, that sentence doesn't work. I have a penis and I'm a girl. Girls don't have penises, mate. Just so you know. You're delulu. I was 7 years old when I realized I liked men. And I knew around 8 years old that I was different. How did you know? When I was 7 years old, I liked all kinds of different things. You haven't even gone through puberty yet, man. Balls haven't even dropped yet. You don't know nothing. As early as 2012, Luzin himself was posting about so-called trans kids, calling on parents to support children who were made in a unique way. In an all caps rant, Luzin wrote, "I will post and repost as many times as necessary to explain that children with specific needs are not weird, crazy, or sick." Well, you're weird, crazy, and sick, mate. They only want what everyone else wants, to be accepted. Can I make a question? Will anyone post this message? Yeah, whatever. Disturbingly, Luzin's SoundCloud profile reveals that he liked an audio track of a child crying out in pain. Luzin is not the first trans-identified male to make headlines for child sex offences in Canada since the beginning of the year. As previously reported by Redux, a violent transgender sex offender in Alberta with a history of making toddler sex abuse material was released from prison in January only to be rearrested days later on new offences. When are the police going to learn? You cannot release or re-release these people. You keep them in a prison cell. I'm actually for something a lot worse than a prison cell if you are a pedophile. I'll have you know, because that's your just desserts. If you take away a child's innocence for your satisfaction and your pleasure, you deserve absolutely nothing from society anymore. You deserve the grave, is what you deserve. Laverne Travis Wasakahat, whatever, 47, had an extensive history of possessing, making, and publishing child pornography involving male and female infants under 3 years old. In Ontario, another transgender child rapist and serial sex offender, Patrick Pearsall, was recently released to a halfway house after having been detained for part of his sentence at the Milton Vanier Centre for Women. Okay, I'm done reading all this stuff out because I'm sick and tired of the injustice that is going on, not just in Canada but around the world. Like, people seem to think that these sick, twisted, evil people that are abusing young kids, that they deserve to be let out with the rest of society. No, they don't. I mentioned a moment ago what they deserve, and I'm sticking by that. If you don't like it, so be it. But all these so-called psychologists and therapists saying that they are minor attracted persons and they should be treated like they are a person. No, no. Even if someone thinks this kind of stuff, that's not right. And they need some serious help. And they should be kept away from any kind of material or any kind of child, because the likelihood of them actually committing to what they're thinking in their brain is quite high. The ones that have actually committed the act, God forbid that happens, but it does. We've got some very evil, wicked people out there in the world. But if it does, then they don't deserve the land of the living anymore. That's my thought on it. They're not misunderstood people. They're sick, twisted, vile, and they're from the devil. Burn in hell. Special kind of place in hell for these kind of people. The reason why in prison, what happens to pedophiles? There's a reason why they're separated, because even the inmates know that this is the worst crime of all, aside from taking a man's life. But if you take a child's innocence, then the only consequence you deserve is, well, what the inmates carry out, putting you in the grave. That is justice, man. Believe it or not. Bible talks about suffer the little children. If you harm a child, God will have his vengeance. Those are my thoughts on the matter. I know this is really, really sick, but does it surprise anyone? I don't think it does. That people like this should not be walking around. Because the likelihood of them actually committing a crime is quite high. Thank you all so much for watching. I know this one was really hard to actually digest. Appreciate you guys sticking around this long. You take care, you be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.